Hello, my name is Casey McCullum, and I will be here interviewing with Miss Whitney Russell to ask her about her experience as a teacher so far. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. How are you?
So first, how did you decide to go into education?
As a child, I enjoyed playing school teacher. Teaching and children have been something I've been into for the majority of my life. So I knew that education was where I was going to be.
Okay. When you first looked into it, was it extremely hard for you to decide which particular field in education you wanted to do?
Well, I started out in child care family. I actually graduated with a bachelor's in child care and family education. My main focus has always been the smaller kids. My ultimate goal is to open a child care facility at some point in my life. But I always knew that I wanted to work with smaller children and not the older children. So maybe I teach second grade at this present moment. So I don't think I want to go past third, fourth grade.
Okay, okay. Because I'm doing child care and family education too. FD I love. So, did you enjoy their programming and their teaching styles there?
I did. It taught me a whole lot. I did, after graduating, I did about 5 years in Head Start. So that child care and family education prepared me for my experience in Head Start.
Okay. What is your favorite memory being so far as a teacher?
I'm in my 7th year in public education, and I guess my most memorable moment is to see kids matriculate and then see them later in life and see how they've grown, and then to hear stories of how I impacted them.
Yeah, that does seem really fun. So as you're watching them matriculate through life, are they still kind of so connected to you as they were when they were in school?
A few are. A few I still communicate with the parents. I can remember one child, I had him in Head Start. He was 4 when I first got him. He is now 12 maybe. And we've connected. We built a bond, and we spent a lot of time. We still, he was in my wedding, and we still spent a lot of time together. So it's good to see how he was as a 4-year-old compared to how he's matriculated through school to get where he is now. I can remember when he was going into public school after finishing. Maybe he was 3 when he started with me. When he went into kindergarten, his kindergarten teacher called me and she was like, "Well, can you give me some insight on how you dealt with this child?" And I actually had to go to the school and have a conversation with the teacher because she was struggling. So,
yeah, that's an amazing impact to have, to be able to touch and build with other teachers as well. What's your worst memory so far, if you have one?
I don't necessarily have a worst memory. I guess my struggles are with having inclusion in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 years, I've had a special needs child. Excuse me, special needs meaning the 3 years ago, I had a autistic child. Never seen an autistic child. Never knew what an autistic child was prior to seeing one. Didn't even know how to reach out to him. And with that situation, he kind of taught me. The next year, I had another autistic child. His autism was on a different spectrum than the child before, but I also had gained information because I was taking a course on special ed. So I used what I had from that and the child from the previous year to help me with that child. Like I said, it was on 2 different spectrums. My first year student didn't like noises. He didn't like singing. And so, like, when the kids would do the things like that, he would just go to because I team teach. So he would go to my team teacher's classroom. We didn't teach him. He was just in the class for inclusion. My student I had last year with autism, he was more so on the higher end. They both were smart, but they were just different smartness. They even, like, the one I had the first year I had one, he taught me how to go into the computer and see different things that I didn't even know were there. And then this year I have a Down syndrome student. And it's been a struggle to try to, because they are not on the level as my other children. But because of inclusion, they have to be in my classroom. So trying to reach her as well as continue teaching my other students has been my struggle. So that's like one of the struggles I've had, not a worst memory.
Okay. So do you think the more as you go on throughout the year and learn her, and she learns you, it'll get easier?
It's getting easier to deal with her. Her issue is, I've said this ODD. So it's like the oppositional defiancy disorder, which means that I'm just gonna be defiant just because. I could be in the middle of a lesson and she just holler, "Shut up." But I don't think she means anything by it. It's just something impulse that makes her say that.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is kind of to ignore the behaviors, and then it kind of, in some situations, just depends on the day. Those the ignoring the behavior makes it better, and then sometimes it can make it worse to where she's just going to continue to do things to get your attention.
Okay.
So those type of behaviors interrupt teaching. So I have to figure out different things to try to not be able to get that, to try to counter corner, you know what I'm saying?
So keep her attention.
And so she loves to be up under me. So if you want to just stand beside me while I teach, that's fine. If it makes my day go by a little smoother.
Okay. What is your biggest success story with your students?
I was a third grade teacher for 3 years. Those 3 years, I had some of the highest, 2 of those 3 years, I had very good success rates for passing the third grade gate test.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my biggest success in my teaching.
Was it hard to make sure that they were all focused on the materials, or were the parents willing and helpful to make sure that the children were understanding?
Parent involvement was an issue. You have half and half. You're never gonna have all 100% of your parents involved.
Okay.
But I think it was more so of them wanting to do good that made it easy for them to be able to do good. Yeah. I think in my 3 years, I might have had maybe 5 or less that had to take it more than once.
That's amazing, because
and that was like
when here that majority of the students typically fail that.
And that was like when it was just coming out, when I was teaching it, maybe the first 2 or 3 years after it came out. And reading is a struggle for most of our students. And so to see that passing rate was a great feeling.
Yeah. What are your future plans, and how do you plan to continue to grow in the field?
My future plans are to continue my education. I will be finishing the MAT program in December. When I finish the MAT program, I plan to go into specialist program for curriculum instruction. And I want to work with something with curriculum, because I feel like so many times people in the curriculum department have been out of the classroom for so long that it hinders teaching, because they don't really know what goes into teaching now compared to maybe 10, 15 years ago. So that's one of my goals. Another goal is to create a mentoring program to support first-year teachers, maybe first 2 or 3 year teachers, because so often I've seen where we lose great teachers because they were confused, lost, and didn't have that support that first few years. So I want to create a mentoring program for first-year teachers. And somewhere down the line, I open my own child care facility.
How do you integrate technology within your classes?
I think the pandemic has assisted a whole lot in integrating technology. We use Google Classroom for our class assignments so that we won't be contaminated with papers around the room. So that's one way. We also have different programs that we use to boost. I teach second grade math, so I use a program called Prodigy, which is a game, but it's also learning. The students are kind of like battling each other in a fairy tale world, but they also have to work on problems to get to the next level or to get to other levels, and to be able to battle the other students depending on who on their level. And I also can do it to where I make assignments according to the assignments the standards that I'm teaching.
Okay. Do you have any advice for future educators?
My advice for future educators will be just know and understand that you go through your college courses and take the courses, but nothing truly prepares you nothing truly prepares you for the classroom but the classroom. And I say that because, you know, we can learn all these principles and everything else that goes about. But when you get in the classroom, those children are going to teach you how to teach them.
Well, it was wonderful sitting and interviewing with you.
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.